Mutahar. He is friends with Oompaville, a gun-obsessed content creator that has taken advantage of Nakado Avocado's mental decline, who argued against Andrew Tate being deplatformed from social media websites, and has recently showcased a great deal of transphobia in his most recent video.
Oh boy, that thumbnail's never gonna leave me!
Alright, this is just sad. This guy clearly did zero research, and he's being absolutely cooked for it. His channel goes by the name of In Praise of Shadows, and typically he makes videos on horror retrospectives of all types of media. But this guy decided to throw his hat into the ring and get political in his latest video. Bad conservative horror movies, where he throws slanderous shade at all sorts of YouTubers, and the lack of research really shines through hard on this one, guys. Like, the guy actually tried to tie Muda and Wendigoon into the conservative YouTuber crowd. Look, I don't know exactly where their politics lie personally, but regardless, they clearly aren't conservative YouTubers. Not even remotely.
Hello guys and gals, me Mutahar, and today's video is brought to you by Common Sense, which unfortunately isn't so common anymore. We're also bringing you a side sponsor as well, known as Objectivity, research, and bringing things up in good faith. This is something that the subject to today's video absolutely lacks. His most recent video was bad conservative horror movies, where yours truly and friends of the channel Wendigoon, Brandon Buckingham, so on and so forth, Oompaville got called out for promoting bad things, being associated with the bad people on the internet. And while this video is 2 hours and 45 minutes, it used to be an hour more, where it contained an entire hit piece on our buddy Wendigoon, primarily, but also I got strays, Oompaville got strays, Brandon got strays, Turkey Tom got strays, pretty much everyone got strays. This man delivered a bad faith representation, and it's time to actually debunk why it was bad faith. So in regarding me, alright, he ends up actually saying this.
He is friends with Oompaville, a gun-obsessed content creator that has taken advantage of Nakado Avocado's mental decline.
Bro, they have made content together, okay? Nikocado Avocado is a very intelligent content creator. They know exactly what they are doing, okay? At the end of the day, there is no taking advantage of it.
Stories that are deliberately made to blur the boundaries between fact and fiction, influence the ants, brainwash the ants. You are the ant.
For fame and for money. And on top of that, has made content with the human trafficker, Andrew Tate.
So what about plenty of like news organizations that have actually brought him on and actually had interviews with him? Are they also responsible? One of the weird things about the internet is basically just making statements of actual fact before things are supposed to be actual fact.
He is friends with Mutahar, who argued against Andrew Tate being deplatformed from social media websites, and has recently showcased a great deal of transphobia in his most recent video.
Oh boy, that thumbnail's never gonna leave me. I'll tell you what, that's the best $120 I must have ever spent. You know, the same thumbnail that's basically made a caricature right here of that character Keffals that I actually ended up covering. Now, looking at this image over here, it is in fact just a disheveled, greasy individual. So again, I press this individual on the idea of like, where is the transphobia that I was showcasing? Where is it? Is it in the room with us? Where is it? And again, that was a response over here. I was like, you gonna back that claim up? What about painting me as a Tate fan when I clearly aren't? And in fact, this person's only response to this was, Mutahar, your art was transphobic. I have nothing else to say to that. Even their owns don't have any form of research to assist in their own.
What an absolute schizo post. Honestly, Muda is handling this quite well, because I would have been absolutely freaking out on this guy, because his allegations are just so schizo. The guy is rightfully taking a ton of heat for this awful video, but something tells me that was the intention of the video. I think that this guy decided to throw slanderous shade at some of the biggest YouTubers because he really wanted some response to bump his relevance and views. Get this. This guy was just complaining about not being able to afford rent most of the time, and that he barely made $500 in 1 month recently.
There was a month last year where I only made $500 in ad revenue. I can't live off that. The amount of times that I've almost had to stop making videos since then has been almost monthly. I've barely been able to keep this afloat. I've paid my rent late most months for the past year. The cruel and untrue things that you say about another person do in fact have direct impacts on them and the way that people culturally see them. It's why I've put
And honestly, that's like the only thing that really makes sense to his absurd allegations. Dude is straight up trying to find Pepe Sylvia. This guy said Muda's video on Keffals contained a great deal of transphobia, without elaborating on it at all. He actually does this to multiple people in this video, where he makes a comment as if it's a fact, then just uses the fact that they've been in proximity of another YouTuber as proof for his crazy allegations. And when he was confronted on it by Mudahar, the guy doesn't explain how the video contains a great deal of transphobia. He just does what every person criticizing Muda over this does. The thumbnail was a transphobic caricature. This is exactly how he approaches all of his criticisms in this video. Oh, white people from Appalachia? They are obviously mostly racist.
Deep Appalachia is very white country, and for the most part, is exceptionally racist. Genuinely in this part of the country, you have to assume that any white person you meet is racist unless they show you otherwise.
Don't worry, buddy, I'm sure you're one of the good white guys out there. But this is one of those statements that I kind of wanted to talk about because honestly, it kind of paints a perspective for what this person's view of the world really is. Now, I'm sure that obviously there is definitely racism in some deep parts of the United States. That's not a shocking thing for many people to consume. But to broadly paint nearly every white guy living out there really serves as a statement to further separate society.
Midst of this going on, a very funny thing happened, and that Wendigoon followed me on Twitter. I was not following him at the time. He never publicly told people to stop calling me a faggot. He never once reached out to me privately, but he did follow me, which means in my eyes that he 100% knew what was happening because I did tweet about it several times, and then followed me to let me know that he knew, and that he was watching and that he intended to do nothing to stop it. Why else would he follow me in that exact moment?
Oh yeah, that totally makes perfect logical sense. Following you is a move of intimidation. Person received what they claim to be some hateful words, and a lot of that was being linked to Wendigoon's community or whatever. And here's the thing, you can't really link anybody to a certain community like that because what people post on the internet is entirely of their own volition.
Oh, Mudahar hangs out with Oompaville, who loves guns? Obviously, he's a conservative YouTuber. Oh, Oompaville made content exploiting Nikocado Avocado? He's obviously a bad person. The absolute childish proximity logic this guy uses is just such bottom-of-the-barrel trash. The critiques are absolute garbage. I get it, man, you gotta pay rent somehow, right? But you could have at least done the bare minimum amount of research for this. Just take like an hour or something and verify some of your claims. This is just what happens when you sit down and write a script and just riff off the top of your head. Instead of using facts to justify your assumptions, you use assumptions to justify your own preconceived bias of individuals. All because they associate or make content with people you see as bad. Dude, you need to get over yourself.
Stories that are deliberately made to blur the boundaries between fact and fiction, influence the ants, brainwash the ants. You